A perfect B school does not exist. First, the written application, if at all there is one, then the GD, then personal interview, etc. The only thing you are trying to do is to sell yourself.
25 लाख खर्चा कर रहे हो, अरे 50,000 और ट्रैवल पर खर्चा कर दो, जाओ उस इंस्टीट्यूशन में, घूम के आओ, देख के आओ कैसे प्रोफेसर्स हैं, meet 2 or 3 of them.
Oh, they are charging X students into X number of rupees as tuition fee. They are getting a revenue of this much. Nobody looks at the costs. In a good research-oriented school, 75% of the professor's time is spent on research. Only 25% is spent on teaching. In terms of what I have done professionally, I started off with the industry, worked for a bank, then third-party logistics, and then went on to do my MBA. And then I worked for National University of Singapore, managing their MBA programs. I then moved to ISB, where I worked for 17 years, and I was instrumental in launching their executive MBA, their family business MBA, then weekend executive MBA, and then executive doctoral program at ISB. And I have had an opportunity to do a multitude of roles at ISB. And just over 2 years back, I had an opportunity to move to Mahindra University. And if you have noticed, something in a pattern in what I said, I like creating and building new things, right? So creating and building new brands, establishing things. So more like an entrepreneur within a larger organization, if I may use that term.
Lovely. And if I may have to ask you, like these people that you probably are seeing here, they all are looking forward to the perfect B school that fits their bill, right? And I know for a fact that a perfect B school doesn't exist. It always is what you require, what you think is the best for you, and then you make that choice and decision for yourself, basis the other factors around a particular B school that you see, right? In your experience of building this, while you were in Singapore also, or while you were doing it in ISB, did you have a rule book of finding the right B school?
Not really, because like you said, a perfect B school does not exist. And there are many good B schools, right? So you have a choice. I think the question is, which is the right B school for you, is a marriage between what you desire and what the B school offers. Now, this is something that one has to really introspect on, right? And please remember, when I say what you desire, right, it doesn't mean X LPA. So that is not what you desire. When I say desire, that is an outcome, right? But that outcome is a function of many other things, right? Now, there was a young lady in the previous session who was asking that she wants to work in the area of finance. So that is a part of your desire. It's not an LPA. You want to do that because you probably like doing it. And we all, if we get into a job that we like doing, we are more successful in that, right? Compared to a job that we don't enjoy doing, right? So this is what a marriage of your needs, your desires are with respect to that school, right? And for example, if you look at Mahindra University, right, we don't offer an HR specialization, for example. So if you want to work in the HR domain and if you choose our school, you are making the wrong decision. So this is what you have to look at when you are choosing a business school. You have to look at, this is what I want. Does the school have what it will take to meet my needs, right? Are my classmates going to partly meet that? There may be people without work experience, but they do come with a certain pedigree, right? A certain kind of education, certain kind of background where they have lived, etc., etc. And in a good school, at least there will be a a lot of case studies being used, right? Unfortunately, in India, we don't use, not too many schools use the case method. But that is where the discussions will be enriching. So you have to really, see whether the faculties of the kind that you think will add value to you, the rest of the classmates are of that kind, whether the infrastructure, the industry connect. So all those things depend. Are they known for something? Are they not strong in some area? So you have to do that diligence to kind of figure out what that school is.
Let's now talk about from the perspective of these very students who are sitting in here. They go on to their GDPI rounds. They talk to a lot of these people like you, who possibly grill them as well on certain aspects. What exactly do you feel that these students should be presenting themselves as, so that they make the best impact that's possible, and irrespective of any B school, wherever they're going, whatever the course that they're taking up?
No, I think an excellent question and extremely relevant, for all of you, because I've been interviewing students for admission for, decades now, right? Maybe 25 years. Here, it's a very short term objective is to get into that business school, right? That's why you are going through the application process, right? First the written application, if at all there is one, then the GD, then personal interview, etc. The only thing you are trying to do is to sell yourself, right? You are better than other applicants. Isn't that what you are trying to do? Right? Am I wrong anywhere? Right? So think like that this is your sales pitch, right? You are trying to tell the school that I am better than the other 10,000 applications that you have received, and the other 9,999 people are not as good as me. So you have to start thinking like that. And therefore, you need to bring those things out in your application, in your personal interview, right? If there is a group discussion, you really don't have that much opportunity for that. That's more about, your other skills that you have. But if you start thinking like that, then your application will be better. Right, especially for schools which are looking at profile based admissions, right? Otherwise, they will just look at your CAT scores or GMAT scores or something, draw up a merit list and give you an offer. They are really not bothered about many of the other things. But there are schools which believe that not every individual, like all 5 fingers are not equal, right? So some of us, and we have a famous saying in business schools, right? Half the class are quants and other half are poets. Right? So they don't like numbers, they don't like mathematics, but that doesn't mean they are not going to be successful in life, right? So we can't really judge people just strictly by going by what kind of scores you had in your math and other things. By the way, I'm not saying math is not important, because the first few courses will be completely mathematics based in any business school. But use that opportunity to figure out what makes you special. Think, introspect, ask people, what do you like in me? Highlight that in your written essays, SOPs, highlight that in your personal interview. And by the way, most people don't realize that you can actually steer the personal interview in the direction that you want, right? While we may be asking questions, you have an opportunity to steer the interview to highlight what you want to highlight. But most of us don't realize and don't use that opportunity.
A lot of times these students, they spend in excess of 20-25 lakh rupees for this program, and they don't take the extra mile to think about where they are getting into, right? It's only when they have done the program they realized, oh अच्छा ये तो पैसे जल गए, अभी क्या करें पता नहीं, right? 25 रुपए की कोई एक चीज़ मार्केट से खरीदने से पहले they do a lot of research on that. Have you seen that change over the years? Have they become more inquisitive about where they're going, or is it still the same in your opinion from your day?
Like I said, I think it's become less, because with internet becoming more popular, Instagram, etc., and people are pushing information to you, right? So what is happening is that you are consuming information which is pushed. What you need to do is pull information, right? Seek information that you desire, right? Then you will get the true picture, right? So good thing is that a lot of information is available. You have ways to connect to people, right? But you have to leverage that, right? Now, unfortunately, the difference between products and services, right? And this is something we teach you in an MBA program, right? A product you can experience before you buy. A service can only be experienced after it has been bought, right? And this is akin to service, right? While I don't think education is an industry, but it is akin to a service industry where you can only experience it after you have joined the program. And as Paul was saying, right, you have already spent 25 lakhs and then you realize bad choice. So make that effort. 20-25 लाख खर्चा कर रहे हो, अरे 50,000 और ट्रैवल पर खर्चा कर दो, जाओ उस इंस्टीट्यूशन में, घूम के आओ, देख के आओ कैसे प्रोफेसर्स हैं, मीट 2 or 3 of them, right? Meet students. You will get a sense for yourself what you are getting into. You will save your 25 lakhs by spending. आप लोग एडमिशन कंसल्टेंट को भी तो पैसा देते हो, ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट को भी तो पैसा देते हो. Similarly, that is an investment for your future. Figure out this.
Perfect. I totally agree with what you're saying, Sanjay. And related to that is the next question that I had. When you're making a new B school, you're taking a prototype from an existing B school. In your case, the prototype is pretty strong because you've built some of the functions or the courses that you mentioned at ISB as well, and to some extent at US as well, right? What are you picking from these places in a new institute that you probably are building, and how is that going to serve the purpose for the generation of today?
So I think very clearly one of the things we are doing, and like you mentioned, part of the experiences I have gained over the last 25-30 years in this sector is to focus on quality of faculty. Because I think, and I'll be honest with you, we at Mahindra, we wanted to double our faculty base in a year. We were not able to do that. And the reason was because we were not willing to compromise on the quality of faculty that we hire, right? We said we will go slow, but we will hire the right kind of faculty that when our students come in, they don't feel cheated that, this is not what I came here for, right? Similarly, in terms of curriculum, right? So at Mahindra, for example, when we launched the business school, we had a formal tie-up with Cornell University, which is an Ivy League institution. So there was a team of faculty members there who helped design our curriculum, right? So it is internationally benchmarked. It is not just based on what one individual like me would decide, right? I am running the executive MBA program, the MBA program there. I reach out to faculty members in Cornell. We have a association with Frankfurt School of Finance and Management in Germany to see what's happening globally, right? What are some of the trends? How do we benchmark our curriculum against their curricula, right? So it is not in isolation. I think I or people like me would be living in a fool's paradise if we think that we know it all. We are not omniscient, and therefore it is always a team of people, network of people, experts in that area that we use. We have a board of studies where we have not only senior professors from other academic institutions, not Mahindra University, but other academic institutions, but we also have people who are from like senior executives from Axis Bank and some technology companies in AI domain, etc., who also come and advise us, and the board of studies is which looks at the curriculum. So they advise us that you are teaching this, is it relevant? So if I were to hire somebody for my company and I run an AI company, would I find those skills useful or not, right? So that's how we curate our curricula, and this is what a good institution anywhere in the world would like to do.
Let's sum these things up. Do you find any common misconceptions that a lot of these students have about them getting into a particular B school that they overlook as well? We talked about a few things in our conversation. If you have to address these very people, what are these things that they need to definitely keep in mind when they're making that B school choice? And why would you say that these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that they should definitely be looking into?
I mean, I've touched upon some of these things. I think number one thing, why are you going there? I think get that clarity first. You are not going for the LPAs, right? You are going there for learning, right? And I've always mentioned this. If you chase money, which means if you are chasing a good job out of your MBA program, that job will only come to you once in campus placement. What happens after that? After that, you are not going to come back every year and participate in the placement process of that school. But if you are chasing knowledge, then money will chase you. You don't have to chase money. Money will chase you, because any organization is looking for people with great pool of knowledge, because that is when you can contribute to the growth of that organization. So then people will chase you and say, why don't you come and join my company? Most people look at infrastructure. क्या होगा 2 साल अच्छा classroom नहीं? I mean, come on, I mean, that's a given. I think any school you go to, infrastructure is kind of almost at par, plus or minus a little bit here and there, right? So focus on the real stuff.
Why is the B school degree becoming costlier and costlier every single year? Does this justify the kind of learning that it brings to the table? I mean, you also mentioned that in your B school, if you have to enroll these case studies, you have to spend a considerable amount of money. Beyond that, what is happening that is making this so costly?
I will give the absolutely true answer, again at the risk of sticking my neck out, right? Which means possibly less future career options for me and other business schools.
I think you have had enough, Sanjay. Come on.
But the thing is, why is it expensive, right? A lot of us don't realize universities or educational institutions have two purposes, right? One is creation of knowledge, other is dissemination of knowledge, right? Dissemination of knowledge is teaching. So when we teach, we can charge you a fee. But when we do research, it is not sold. It is published in journals, which is available for anyone to use. So no business school can monetize that, right? And if you cannot monetize it, that money has to come from somewhere, right? Because while most schools are supposed to be not-for-profit, not-for-profit does not mean for loss, right? Not-for-profit means whatever we are spending, we have to recover from somewhere, right? We don't want to generate a profit, but if we keep on incurring a loss, we will close down one day, right? So therefore, you have to look at, and this is one of the things you will learn in an MBA program, right? So typically we see with a small lens and we figure out that, oh, they are charging X students into X number of, rupees as tuition fee, they are getting a revenue of this much. Nobody looks at the costs. In a good research-oriented school, 75% of the professor's time is spent on research. Only 25% is spent on teaching. So where do we then create new knowledge, right? So how do we create the curriculum of the future? We will create curriculum of the future by doing research today, right? So having said that, right, there are a few serious schools which actually do that, and because of that, the fee kind of was established at a particular thing. Then everybody else saw, oh, they are charging so much, so we can also charge this much, right? Whether we spend or not. So that has what has really happened, right? So 10% of the schools are serious. The other 90% have just used that opportunity to hike their fees.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with that. And one more thing that these very minds look at is the kind of market conditions that things are operating in. And probably you will see a lot of heads turning up to B schools this year also, because the kind of situation that's there in the market. How do you see that trend to play out? Do you think it's wise in students' perspective, in their, whether it's happening in their favor or not, or do you think that it's the time for B schools to cash in this opportunity, and that's why this narrative is created?
No, I think there isn't really too much that the B schools can do to cash in into that opportunity, because most of us have a fixed intake, right? Just because there are more people who are vying to get into an MBA program, suddenly we cannot double our faculty numbers, right? So how will we teach them? So I don't think that is appropriate. What may happen is that maybe the schools will have more number of students to select from. So the competition will be a little bit more tough. But the market scenario, I mean, if you're talking of placements, yes, it is bad. I'm sure you would have, the more aware of you would have read those news that, you know, internships and placements are not happening even in the top schools in the country. But this is all cyclical. I mean, it happened in 2008, it happened in 2001. So there are bad years which happen, right? But then people bounce back, because if you have the basic skills, people will bounce back. And by the time people who are entering now will only graduate in 2026, right? So by that time, things would have become definitely better, right? It's highly unlikely that you see a recession which goes beyond a couple of years.
Moving on, Sanjay, I have a quick couple of questions before I open up to the house. Now, if I'm researching about a B school, right? We have mentioned all the things that you probably have talked. What is it one definite thing that I should never be compromising on? I mean, you mentioned about faculty members, you mentioned about the peers. But in general, if I'm looking at a B school as an investment for 2 years, what I should definitely not, miss. Like if there is a red flag, I should definitely move from there.
Difficult question. I would still say quality of learning, but also maybe, do you find the school to be truthful? Are they honest with their responses? If they are not, then I think it's a red flag.
Beautiful. I think the first, I mean, I'm going to be very honest here. I met Sanjay last year in a conversation that we had. And the first thing that he said that आप पूरा B school घूम लो, आप लोगों से बात कर लो, and then if you feel that you have good things to say, only say good things. I mean, I usually don't say good things about a B school anyway, because my job is not that. My job is to take that B school's information out there so that you also know about it. But that's something that I heard from Sanjay for the first time in all these years. And that's very important for whoever you are, reaching out to, whether they are being truthful about what they are trying to build as an institute. So very, very valid point, I think, Sanjay. There.
No, thank you, Paul. And in fact, Jay and I were speaking before he came in, right? And he was saying, any tips? I said, no tips. If you like something about us, say that. If you don't like something about Mahindra University, be open about that, because, I mean, after all, people will figure it out in any case.
Correct. Right? Absolutely. So now, if I have to, be in your institute, right? Do I need to change myself in any way so that I can mold myself to be like a Mahindra University student? Or should I be doing it if I'm going to any particular B school? So for example, a B school talks just about technology and everything that they, get into is embedded in technology, and I have zero knowledge about technology. So I have to catch up very, aggressively in order to be part of the entire peer or the kind of community that particular B school is trying to build. And probably that's very difficult for me as well. So in that case, should I be doing that for the sake of the university, or should I be myself or as an individual building myself up the way I want?
You should always be your individual self, right? Because you just cannot transform into something completely different. You are not transformers. Okay, you are not. We are not. Right? So be yourself. If the school is trying to straitjacket you into a particular thing, then perhaps that is not the right school for you. Then choose a school which allows your strengths to flourish. Right? That would be my advice.
Great. Okay. I'm opening up the house for questions.
So my question is whether we venture into business school. So it is more about practical learning or it is about alumni network. So for example, if you go into people target older IIMs, not because the practical learning they provide, because across all India, all business school provide practical learning. So it is more about alumni network or practical business learning.
So first of all, it's not about practical business. It is about theoretical concepts that you will learn, right? Is alumni network important? Yes, definitely it is important, right? But you don't go there just for the alumni network. And first of all, you won't get entry because, you have to have a basic minimum quality that they will check, right? Now, if you are able to enter that and if you feel that the alumni network is good, definitely you should consider it. But remember, alumni will also help you if they find that there is some good quality in you that they can, either find you a job in their own company or refer you somewhere. Just because there is an alumni network, please remember, they are not going to stick their neck out for somebody they feel is not suitable, right? So keep that in mind. But an alumni network is useful, but you have to make a lot of effort. Just because an alumni network is there and suddenly out of the blue you send a mail to somebody, I'm looking for a job, will that come by you? Not necessarily. You have to spend that effort in building those connections with the right kind of alumni, right? You have to give back to them equally, right? In some other form. I'm not saying you have to find them a job, but there should be something that they look from you as well, right? So as long as you can leverage that, figure out a way, definitely an alumni network is useful.
My name is Raghav. Hello, sir. Hi, Paul.
Right.
Sir, my question to you is, you said under your leadership in ISB, the Family Business MBA program and Executive MBA was started. My question to you is, what was the motivation behind starting a Family Business MBA program, and how it is different from a regular MBA or Executive MBA? So, what were the gaps that you felt these are fulfilling?
Yes. So I think excellent question, and I'll tell you how now theory is actually applied in practice, right? People say you don't use theory in practice, right? So one of the theories we teach in marketing is, how to look at gaps in the market, right? And this is a gap in the market, right? If you look at a lot of family businesses, right? So they start small and then they are growing. And one unique thing of family business is that the manager and owner is the same, okay? And the other unique thing is that at a certain stage, you have many people who become involved and then tensions start growing, right? Everybody wants that, the so-called sexy job within that firm. Nobody wants to work on the production side. Everybody wants to meet customers, travel around the world, exporting, etc., etc. Then between two siblings, how do you decide who will do what? Those tensions start growing, right? So in a family business program, these kind of concepts are covered as a part of the curriculum. How do you deal with family tensions? How do you delegate responsibilities within family members, etc., which is something that we will not teach in a regular MBA program, right? So a large part of the curriculum is what is covered in an MBA program, because ultimately that is also a business, right? Whether it belongs to somebody else or to you, that's the only difference. But it's a business and you need to know how to run that business. But some part of the program covers these courses which you will not get. So we were trying to fill that gap, that there were people who were involved in their family business. They could not take 2 years to go off and do a program full time. So we offered them a part-time program that allowed them to continue to work in family business, but also understand these concepts, like we do with our executive MBA. It's a part-time program, and many people in India don't understand executive MBA, right? It doesn't mean an MBA for people with work experience. Executive MBA means for people with 15-20 years of work experience, right? So our average work experience is around 18 years. So that's one example of that.
Sir, I have a question that since you talked about that every undergraduate has some sort of tendency to do MBA just after seeing the lucrative salary packages and the lifestyle that MBA offers. But what according to will be the realistic approach for a student to choose whether he want to do an MBA or not?
So I think first of all, I'm not saying you should not do an MBA, right? But I'm just saying think about, at what stage in life you want to do an MBA, right? Kamal was here, he was talking about, right? He's doing an executive MBA now. So there is no, thumb rule that in the moment you finish your undergrad, you have to run and do an MBA program, right? Some may want to get done with it. Some may want to wait for a few years, do a full-time program. Some people wait even longer because they are enjoying the role that they are in. They don't want to do an MBA, right? So they say, I'll do an executive MBA later if I feel the need to do it, right? Even if you are not looking at an MBA, there are options which are open for you. First thing is you have to enjoy what you are doing, right? Just by getting into an MBA program, doing something which you really don't know what it is, may not necessarily lead to happiness for you, All I'm saying is do your research well. Just because 10 other people are applying to a particular college or to an MBA program, or they are applying to an engineering program or something, it is not necessary that you have to follow them. That's what I meant by that statement. I'm not saying don't look at an MBA, don't look at it now. No. All I'm saying is think about it, do your research well. Don't just because 10 friends are applying, let me also fill up. Why do you think 3.5 lakh people take the CAT? Is everybody serious? Some parents का pressure. Parents क्या बोलेंगे? CAT भी नहीं लिख रहा. अच्छा लिख. They may not be interested in an MBA, but you do that, right? Many times we do it because parents don't like it. बच्चा कुछ नहीं serious नहीं है पढ़ाई के लिए, right? तो people follow that herd mentality. That was all I meant to say is don't follow the herd mentality. Choose something which is good for you, which can perfectly well include a MBA program.